So Brian, today we're talking about air filters. So I'm not really sure what kinds of different air filters are in the car. Is that something that's more internal, or are we talking like the air filter that's like for the air in the car? I know there are a couple different kinds. So what do you want to discuss today?
So the engine air filters were common ever since the early 1900s. There was engine air filters. They had different types. They used to have oil bath air filters, and then they went to the filter element, which most people are aware of. They were kind of round, and then now that then for the many years now they've been kind of just rectangular flat panels. So that would be the engine air filter. Exactly. And then the other one that you touched on is the cabin air filter. So for a long time, when you turn the heater and the air conditioning on, wherever you have it directed blows either warm or cold air out inside the car to keep you comfortable, warm, cool, whatever you want. Never had a filter on it. So like if you were driving through a dusty, dirty place and you had that on blowing hard, it's blowing dusty, dirty air right in your face. Right. So they started putting cabin air filters in cars, which is fantastic. But you put a lot of stuff through any filter, eventually the filter needs to be replaced because it gets restricted and blocked. And it's important that they flow air. Right?
Absolutely. And I can imagine that could get pretty yucky just thinking about it.
Oh my gosh,
So now we know what they are. We have the engine air filter, we have the cabin air filter. They're obviously very different things. What do we need to know in terms of replacing, putting in new filters for both of these?
So there is an interval that they should be inspected, but it's fairly easy to understand or maybe visualize that it really depends on the environment, right? There's a lot of air going through it. If the air is clean that's going through it, or relatively clean, it doesn't dirty the filter up so much. If you're in a filthy environment where there's a lot of dust, construction zones, or whatever, it's going to block those filters and plug them up a lot sooner.
And that applies for the one in the engine as well as the cabin filter.
Both, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right. And they both have to flow air very well. The engine requires that filter to breathe properly, so it gets the air that it needs to run efficiently, get you good mileage and power. Has to filter the air thoroughly also because it prevents the engine from wearing out. Without that filter, the engine would get worn out like that, and it would be smoking and burn oil and all that kind of stuff. So that's important. The other thing is the cabin air filter. If you let the stuff build up in that, and then the stuff holds moisture, and then that can start to get funky. And now instead of cleaning the air, it's actually putting bad stuff in the air.
You don't want to be breathing that. A lot of people spend a lot of times in their cars. So
right.
All right.
So they just need to be inspected periodically.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next. So how often is periodically? You think when you just bring it in for a service,
30,000 is 20, 30,000 is not a bad idea to start keeping an eye on these things. I mean, they'll last at least that long unless you're in some really filthy environment.
Okay. Good. Well, thank you so much for talking to me a little bit about the difference and kind of what you need to know when it comes to having those inspected. And if you have any more questions about this, obviously reach out to Brian and his team at Weber Automotive. You can give them a call. You can schedule an appointment to bring your car in, and check out the rest of our videos like this. WeberAutomotive.com. You can check out the blog. We have a ton of really valuable videos out there where Brian just kind of answers my questions and tells me what we need to know. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Alicia.